Question 1.2, we have an information box and a table presented. In South Africa, a Big Mac meal costs 60 Rand. Table 2 below shows the cost of a Big Mac meal in London and in New York. So we have the exchange rates presented to us in the table. And the question states 1.2.1 A. Calculate the Rand, dollar and Rand pound exchange rates. So the clue here in this question is the way Rand, dollar and Rand pound is written. Now if you notice that it's Rand and a / dollar, Rand / pound. Remember the / represents a dividing. So they are giving you an hint as to what to do should you not know. So all you need to do is look at your table, go to where there is the Rand and there is the dollar. Now if you look at the table, New York works in the dollar. Now you must know all these symbols because sometimes the word dollar may not be there, so you need to know what's the dollar sign, what's the sign for the pound. So taking those figures and doing exactly what the clue is given to you in the question. So you take the Rand value, which is given there, 141 Rand and 57 cents, and you divide it by the $10. Dividing that through, you arrive at 14,157 rands per dollar. Now you'll do the same thing for the Rand per pound. Notice it's Rand per pound, so the Rand is divided by the pound. So do exactly what the clue is in the question. It will be 110 Rand and 19 cents divided by 5,93 pounds, and your answer will be 18,581 Rand per pound. 1.2.1b. Hence calculate how much more it cost to purchase 1 unit of the stronger currency. Now the very fact that we have A and B, you know that there is leading questions here. So you know that you'll be using the information from A in order to answer B. So you've worked out the Rand per dollar and the Rand per pound rates. So now they are asking which is the stronger currency. Now because both are Rand per in your previous question, so all you need to do is subtract those two rates and you'll end up with your stronger currency in terms of the cost to purchase 1 unit. So you have our two totals here, which is 18,581 from the previous question minus 14,157 also from the previous question. Remember, the difference will determine the answer we want. So subtracting those two totals, we arrive at 4,424 rands. 1.2.2. Spoo's cousin Olani earns a basic salary of 2,450 pounds per month in London. Use Spoo's basic salary from question 1.1 to determine who has more buying power between Spoo and Olani when buying a Big Mac meal in their respective countries. Please note, definition of buying power: cost of things in a country in relation to what a person earns in the same country. So it seems like a whole lot of information has been given to us, but reading through the story slowly, you already know Spoo's basic salary because they directed you to 1.1 and the information was given in the box, which was 42,750. Now continuing the story, they're speaking about the Big Mac meal. Now remember, where do we get this information about the Big Mac meal? Now in the table that you had above, just above that is a little bit of information where you started off reading, and it's important that you highlight this information so you know that when answering questions, sometimes you'll be right at the bottom of the page, but certain information will be towards the top that is useful in answering your question. So it's important that you highlight all the things that you consider to be important information, and especially where this figure is given to you, so you know that you'll be using this information to complete certain answers. Now if you look at 1.2, it starts off with and says, in South Africa a Big Mac meal cost 60 Rand. So very simple, we know Spoo's basic salary, we've mentioned it, and we know that the price of the Big Mac is 60 Rand. So all we need to do is we need to divide and then we'll know how many burgers that Spoo can buy. So we take 42,750 and we divide it by 60, and we realize that Spoo can buy 712.5 burgers. So this is basically the operation we have so far, and we're going to apply the same thing for Kolani. Now coming to Kolani, we see that they mentioned that his basic salary will be in pounds, but it's 2,450 per month. Now using this information here, and we go to the London box, where in our table they've given us the price of the Big Mac meal. We see that it's £5.93. So dividing this through, we see we come to 2,450 divided by 5,93, and our answer will be 413,15 burgers. Now it's important that we just looking at these figures to determine buying power, not necessarily that we may round off because it's 0.15 or 0.5 burgers. Our objective here is to work out the buying power between these two individuals. So by looking at our amounts, we have 712,5, we have 413,15. Therefore you notice that Spoo has more buying power, and he is able to buy more burgers with the money that he earns from his salary. 1.3. Kolani went to Namibia on holiday and used the map of Namibia that is given in Annexure B. So we need to go to Annexure B and look at the map and answer 1.3.1 onwards. So going to our addendum, we go to Annexure B as indicated by the information, and we find a map presented to us. We also see the compass directions, which is very useful, and further down we see a distance chart between various places. So 1.3.1 is determine the general direction of Kalahari Desert from Vloesdrift. Now looking at the annexure and the map, you'll see that Vloesdrift is right at the bottom. So the key word in the question is from, because this tells us where we are standing. So remember, we are standing at Vloesdrift. Now from that point there, we must determine where is the Kalahari Desert. Now looking at our map, you look for the Kalahari Desert, you will notice that the Kalahari Desert is towards the northeast, because it is towards the right hand side of your Vloesdrift. Therefore, looking at the directions, it's above, which is north, and it's towards the right hand side, which is east, and therefore our answer will be northeast. 1.3.2 use the distance chart to determine the distance between Swart Koppmund and Walvers Bay. So looking at our annexure, we come to the distance chart at the bottom, and we need to locate these two places. You find Swart Koppmund and you look for Walvers Bay. Now how do you read this here? You look at these two places and you draw a line, a straight line, in terms of their two meeting, those 2 points meeting. So for instance, if you start off by Walvers Bay and you continue towards your left in a straight line, coming all the way to Swart Koppmund and coming all the way down, your starting point will be where the names of these places are. Don't start off by the 389 at the bottom, you start off by Walvers Bay. So from the word Walvers Bay, or the name Walvers Bay, you continue straight towards your left, and from Swart Koppmund you continue down, and you'll see that they meet at 31. So therefore the distance between Walvers Bay and Swart Koppmund is 31 kilometer. This is how you read this type of chart. 1.3.3 consider the actual distance from Koppmund's Koop to Windhoek. Measure the distance between the two places on the map. Hence, calculate the number scale used to draw the map. So we know that number scales are written as map is to actual distance. Now, there's not much information in terms of figures given to us here, but we know that there is a distance chart given to us. Now looking at the distance chart, you see that it has Windhoek in it, but it does not have Koppmund's Koop. So does this mean that there is an error with the paper? So we need to look at the map to determine whether there really is an error with the paper or whether there could be information on the map. So looking at the map, you will find Koppmund's Koop towards the bottom of the map, and if you follow through and the line that goes up, you will find that Windhoek is just above, two spots above. And looking at this and following that line, you'll notice two values from Koppmund's Koop all the way to Windhoek. The two values will be 221 and it will be 261. So this is important for us to know that, because this is our actual distance, and remember the actual distance will be in kilometers. So knowing this, we know that we have our actual distance. All we need to do is we need to measure the distance between the two places. Now how do we do this? We take our ruler and we use a principle called as the crow flies. As the crow fly means a straight line. So we draw a straight line between the two places and we measure that line. So measuring the line, we get a value of 4,5 centimeter. There will be plus minus in terms of the millimeters, but this will be allowed, and you're looking at 4,5 centimeter if you measure this with the ruler. So we know now our values would be amount on the map, it's 4,5, is to the amount on the actual distance, which is 482, and we can present this as a scale. Remember that our amount that we measured on the map is in centimeter, and the amount that we're speaking about, the distances which we've seen on the map, the 221 plus the 261, this is the actual distance in kilometers. So when we're working out our scale, we must work in the same units. Generally we bring it down to centimeters. So we've added up the actual distance and we have an amount of 482. So let's write this down. Now we'll have our scale. The starting point will be 4,5 centimeter is to, remember the is to is two dots in like as you would in ratio form, and it would be is to a 482 kilometer. So we need to convert from kilometer to centimeter, because the 482 needs to be converted to centimeter. Now it's important that you know how many centimeters are in a kilometer. You can by heart this or you could work it out, but it would be easier if you know it offhand, and it will be faster for you to do your multiplications and divisions in terms of conversions. So I've taught my learners that when you're going from big to small, you multiply. So kilometer is big, going to small is centimeter, so we will multiply, and we will multiply by 100,000 because we know that there are 100,000 centimeters in 1 kilometer. So our next step would look like 4,5 centimeter is to 48,200,000 centimeters, and this would be our step. And now all we need to do is present our scale as 1 is to. So how do we do this? Remember, there must be a 1 in the front. So the 4,5 we need to reduce it to 1. So all we just need to do is divide both sides by 4,5. Dividing both sides by 4,5, our final answer will be, and remember we drop off the centimeters because we are presenting now a scale. So it will be 1 is to 10,711,111, and this would be the final answer in terms of the scale required for 1.3.3. 1.3.4, determine the actual distance from Gobabus to Krut Fontaine on the map. So looking at the actual distances, we come down to the distance chart and we see none of these names appear there. So our clue in the question is on the map. So the examiner is directing you as to where you need to find these answers. So looking at Krut Fontaine, it's towards the top of the map. Just below this is Gobabus. Now, in order for us to notice the distance between the place, we'll have to follow the lines that join the place. Now there are lines drawn there, and if we follow those lines, there are measurements along those lines, taking us all the way from one place to the other. If we start off at Gobabus, we follow the line, we see that the first line we'll have to cross is the 205. Moving up from there, we cross the 71. Moving a little higher, we come across the 174. Going further higher towards Fontaine, we cross the 118. Now from the 118, you can see that there is a line that goes directly to Fontaine, and this is the 87 line. Now from Gobabus all the way to Fontaine, if we follow that path, all those amounts that are along that path, we add them up and we arrive at an answer of 655, and therefore this would be the actual distance between these two places. 1.3.5, Kolani leaves Gobabus at 7:45. Notice that the 7:45 is in the morning and travels at an average speed of 90 kilometers per hour. He states that he will arrive in Fontaine at 12 noon if he travels at the same speed. Verify using calculations if his timing is correct. You may use the formula time is equal to distance over speed. So there are three parts to this question. The first part is we need to work out the amount of time it will take to travel. The second part would be to add that time to the 7:45. By doing this, we will determine whether he will arrive there by 12 noon as he has indicated. And then also we need to do the third thing, which is to verify whether he is correct by saying he will arrive there by 12 noon. So starting with the first part, we will use the formula time is equal to distance over speed. Looking at the information in the story, we have been given the speed, which is 90 kilometers. Now where do we get the distance from? Now remember that they are speaking about the same two places which we've worked out in the previous question. And remember the previous question asked us to work out the actual distance. So we're going to be using the information from the previous question, and our actual distance was 655. So we have the distance. So all we need to do is substitute into the formula. So time is equal to 655, which is the distance, divided by 90, which is the kilometers, and we will get an answer. The answer will be a decimal answer, but remember it's in hours. So our answer will be 7,277,778 hours. Now most learners take this 7,2777 to be 7 hours and 27 minutes. But this is incorrect because this is a decimal amount that's showing only the amount of hours. So we need to do a further conversion. How do we do this? What we need to understand is that the 7,2777, which we've just worked out, is made up of two separate numbers. One, it's made up of the 7, which represents the hours, and the other part is made up of 0,27777. So we pull out that part, and we take out the 0,27777, and we multiply it by 60 because there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Now, how do we know whether we have to divide or whether we have to multiply? Remember, we are converting to minutes. So we are taking that hour amount and converting it to minutes. So we are going from big to small. So we will multiply by 60. So we take 0,27778 times 60 and we arrive at 16,67. Now we know that 16,67 rounded off will be 17 minutes. So altogether the time that's taken will be 7 hours and 17 minutes. Now we need to take this and add it to the 7:45, which is the starting time. So adding 7:45 plus the 7 hours and 17 minutes. So starting, if we add the hours, it would be from 7:45, the next one will be 8:45, that will be 1, 2 will be 9:45, 3 will be 10:45, 4 will be 11:45, 5 will be 12:45, 6 will be 13:45, 7 will be 14:45. Now 14:45 is what we have thus far by just adding the hours. So remember that there's 17 minutes left. So if we add another 10 minutes from the 17, we'll have 14.55. And then all we need to do is add the 7 minutes, and you'll realize that it will be 2 minutes past 3, or should it say 15:02 would be your answer. And therefore his statement is incorrect because he will not reach there by noon. So make sure that you add that statement, the justifying statement, because this is an additional mark towards your total marks. 1.3.6, calculate the cost of petrol to travel from Gobabus to Krut Fontaine if the petrol consumption is 8 liters per kilometer and petrol cost 16 Rand 45 cents per liter. Now, whenever there is a consumption rate given or any form of rate given, that means we tend to use the cross multiplication method because there is a comparison. In this case, there's liters to the kilometers, there is liters to the distance. So we put those two headings down and we apply the cross multiplication method. So under liters, we'll write down the 8. Under kilometers, we'll write down 100. Now, the other additional information we have is the distance between Gobabus and Krut Fontaine. So under the kilometers, we will put the additional figure below, which is 655. Cross multiplying. When we do this, we arrive at a working which is 655 divided by 100 times 8, and our final answer will be 52.4 liters. So this does not answer a question because our question states that we must calculate the cost of the petrol. So we know a further bit of information given to us is that the petrol cost is at 16 Rand 45 cents per liter. So we know the amount of liters, so all we just need to do is multiply this through. So we take our liters just worked out, 52.4 times 16 Rand 45 cents, and our final answer will be 861 Rand and 98 cents.